The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our CTC training this afternoon. So glad you're joining us. My name is Sean Abbey. I'll be your moderator kind of this afternoon. I'll be working with a fire marshal to kind of run the webcam part of it and the webinar part of it. So if you have any questions, you can go through me. You can send me different texts, questions, raise your hand, anything. I'll be dealing with that. So to kind of real quick talk to you about my background, how I kind of got into this. I chair the Joint Fire Council and I sit as a e-board member on the State Fire Union. And we kind of got talking last year how we can better train and get information out to the fire service, and came up at a joint council meeting that we could use this forum. So that's kind of how we're here today. So we're glad you're here. I'm a battalion chief on the Kentwood Fire Department. That's kind of my main gig, and I kind of do these on the side to assist the fire marshal. These have been well received, so I hope you've been able to see some other ones, and we're going to continue providing these as long as they're useful. We are going to be recording this afternoon, so it'll be able to be put on YouTube in a private channel, and there'll be a link shared with the Fire Service in Michigan. So if people want to see that, they're going to be able to. Real quick, I want to launch a poll. How many of you have attended a webinar before? So if you can just kind of click on that real quick. How many of you have attended a webinar before? Give you a couple more seconds. We got about 80% of you voting on there. All right, we're going to close the poll up. Great, so we've got a lot of people that have attended these. So as you know, those of you that attended them, one of the downfalls to a webinar type thing is the fact that they're not as interactive as a classroom. But there's definitely things we can do to make it better, like these polls. Feel free. You'll kind of see on the side here where my mouse is at. You can raise your hand. You can type messages down here. You can see where my mouse is at there. If you want to send a message to myself, I can read. If you have a question, you don't want to really raise your hand, you can type that in there. I'll be monitoring those, and I can bring those up to the fire marshal. And there's also up on the top here, if there's a slide or something that you want a screenshot of, you can screenshot that right there, and it'll automatically save it to your desktop for later. So that's kind of a nice feature as well. So I think we got everything on there. Oh yeah, handouts. There's also some handouts. There's 3 different handouts that the fire marshal has put together for you. He'll be talking about those as the program goes on, but you can download those down in the bottom here. You should see an area where handouts are there, and you can download those. So make sure you do that during the course, so you can make sure you have those. Again, another quick poll for you. So are you the county training chairperson for your county? So we're kind of seeing who's in the audience today. So are you the county training chairperson for your county? Looks like we got almost 40 people in the room. And we'll end this poll here, and we get some other hand up. Close the poll, share results. So about 68% of the group is CTC, and 32% is not. So I'll give you some information there. I do have someone with their hand up. Not anymore. They put their hand down. Okay. Oh, so we'll get this thing going. It's my pleasure to introduce our panelists this afternoon. As a state fire marshal, Kevin Selmeyer leads the Michigan Bureau of Fire Services within the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. He also serves as a member of the State Board of Mechanical Rules and is ex officio member of the Firefighters Training Council and the State Fire Safety Board. Prior to his appointment, he served as a deputy fire chief of the Grand Rapids Fire Department. After 30 plus years with the department, he retired in January of 2016. Before joining the Grand Rapids Fire Department, Selmeyer was a crash rescue firefighter for the Michigan Air National Guard. Kevin Selmeyer holds a bachelor's degree in management and organizational development from Spring Arbor University, and his appointment became effective April 24th, 2017. I'd like to welcome our fire marshal today. Good morning, or good afternoon. I'm used to doing these in the morning.
Good afternoon, Sean. I'm going to flip. Hopefully my video is coming up. Everybody can see me. Sean, are you looking good on your end?
Yeah, you look good.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. One of the things that we've been trying to do with these webinars, and I have to throw a big thanks out to Sean Abbey. Very early on, I think last fall, it was during a joint council meeting, we were talking about how do we communicate with the fire service. So one of the things that we want to look at is how do we get the information out to all of you so that you can make good decisions. And so we're moving on in our series. If you remember, we did a webinar on Q courses. We did a webinar on line of duty deaths, which we hope none of you ever have to go back and look at that webinar for the information. But if you did, there is information there. And then what we're actually doing today is we're going to talk to the county training chairperson. And if you remember, for some of you that are out in the audience today, back starting the first week of November on Thursday nights last year in 2017, we started having the county training chairperson calls, and those calls would start usually about 7 at night. Some of them went up to close to an hour and a half in length, and the idea was to keep you informed as you were making decisions last year on how you were going to spend your money at the county level. So one of the things by doing the phone calls is that we had pretty good participation, but we didn't get 100% participation. So one of the things that we're trying to do with the webinar is what we thought is we'll do this live. It'll give you an opportunity to interact, but more importantly, we'll actually be able to archive it in a sense so that any county training chairperson could go back and look at it, or if they're not able to attend today because maybe they're at work or they're taking care of some family stuff, that we want them to have the information also. So one of the things that we want to look at is that, you know, we're going to put this out here. It'll put out a notice on Gov Delivery. We're going to follow up with an email to the county training chairperson in each county and let them know that the video is here. It is great to see that, you know, there is a fair amount of you that are participating. I saw that in the poll question that Sean did. So one of the things we'll jump right into it. And I just wanted to let you know that the Bureau of Fire Services will be rolling out a procedure, and the subject is county training needs survey. And if you're wondering why we're rolling out this procedure, we're rolling out this procedure because in the rewrite of Public Act 291, and actually this part really isn't part of the change that took effect on January 31st, but it's always talked about the chairperson of the Firefighter Training Committee established in each county shall survey the training needs of organized fire departments and public safety departments in their county and shall expend money for firefighter training equipment, and other activities under the act as prioritized by the organized fire departments or public safety departments in the county. So one of the things it talks about is doing the survey. So one of the things it's going to talk about in the policy, and the policy we'll put it out after this meeting. It's actually included in the handouts. It's policy or procedure, I should say, 09-13. And in there, if you've got it open and you're looking at it, it talks about it's a procedure with the intent to assist the county training committees in surveying their county to assure training needs are known and met each fiscal year. So we talk about, it does have on there that they need to survey the departments. We're actually going to include the survey, so I'm kind of holding those up so you get an idea. There is a survey that we'll provide that actually will go to each organized fire department or public safety department in the state. And so there's one that is the fire department training needs survey. They're going to look kind of similar. We need you to collect those from the fire departments also. We're looking for you to survey them so that we can get the information, and then we'll kind of go from there. So one of the things that we want to look at as we're moving along here is how do we find out what people want for training. And if you're following along online, you can you will be able to see, or I should say, if you're using the handouts, you'll be able to see it starts out with basic things like firefighter 1-2 exams, and it goes through all of the curriculum that is involved with the Firefighter Training Council approved classes. When you get to the end of it, the survey, it's going to actually talk about if there's Q courses that you want. So it says the last page is note any additional training your department would like to have that is not already listed above. In the interest of not having this form be 20-some pages, we didn't list all the Q classes. What we would ask is that you would go out and the approved Q classes are on the Bureau of Fire Services training page, and that you would look at those. And I'll give you one. Step Up and Lead is a leadership program. It's going to be over in Macomb County this summer. That class is already approved. If it's in the Q course catalog, it's already approved, which means all you have to do is submit paperwork. And each county has the ability, because you control your training needs. They're, again, based on need. You decide what you want to host and what you want to spend your money on. So one of the things that we're looking at is the training money will be available for use between October 1st, 2018 and September 30th, 2019. That'll be fiscal year 19. We're working to have that money actually in the accounts. Usually it's in there about August, sometimes late July. And one of the reasons that we try to get that money in there a little earlier is you can actually start putting your classes in there so that you can start reserving your classes, but also spending your money. Remember that all county training funds must be encumbered by December 31st of 2018 for fiscal year 19. So that's one of the things. If you remember,
I'm sorry, I've got a hand up here real quick. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
We have a question here. Go ahead, Randy. Are you there?
You got a question, Randy?
Okay. Nope. He turned off his mic.
Nope.
I'll lower his hand.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. No, that's fine. So one of the things that we're looking at is in this procedure, it's going to talk about doing a survey. We're actually providing you the survey forms. We're asking you to go out and ask every organized fire department in your county. We're then also asking then for the survey to come back, and then we're asking for the county to submit a training needs survey. So once you get together, however you're doing, some counties have a whole committee that they work through. Some counties it's chairperson. But what we're actually trying to encourage, and this is something I've been hearing as I've been out traveling around the town hall meetings. And by the way, if you're going to be near Midland, Michigan tonight, Homer Township, which is just west of Midland on 20, we're having a town hall meeting there at 7 o'clock tonight. So if you're over in that area and that interests you, tonight's the night, and we'll be out there. But one of the things that I wanted to, that's been coming up is that, you know, I've got fire departments asking me, well, how do I get to have some say in the training in your county? And this is where the county training chairperson soliciting the fire departments is that opportunity for fire departments to share what they need. Now, ultimately, it's a local decision that will be made. So you'll compile the stuff that comes back from the departments, and then ultimately we would encourage, maybe you have a meeting and you actually come up with, hey, this is what we're going to do moving forward. And that's what a lot of the counties are doing. They'll actually they'll get together, even without following this procedure that we're implementing. They've been getting together and having meetings and then funding training. We're adding a little bit more structure to it, and that structure is outlined in the procedure. We're also that solicitation says by June 1st. So we're asking you to get it out to the departments, get an idea. And then we're asking that the county training chairperson has to have the county form back to us by August 1st. So we're going to give you some time. One of the things you got to realize that we're putting this procedure in place. Our goal is that as we move forward in future years, is that the survey would go out probably in April or May, give people some time to talk about it, give some people some time to think, and then bring it back. And then what we're looking for is we're looking for the county to send in the county training chairperson to send in the form to the Bureau of Fire Services. Are we looking for 83 of these? Absolutely. And that's probably one of the reasons why we are using this webinar format. It was a little disappointing, I'll say this, when we got to January of last year, or this year actually. And one of the reasons why we were disappointed is when we did those conference calls, we shared, and there were also letters that Holly sent out to the county training chairperson in each county, and it said that all your money had to be encumbered by the 31st of December. We didn't want any of that money back. We want you to spend every single dollar in your area. And we're also sharing that in the Rewrite of Public Act 291, regional collaboration is definitely something that we're looking for you. If you want to get together with your neighbors and pool your money together, that's fantastic. But it has to be encumbered by December 31st of each year. And what we further asked was, and we'll still continue to ask this, is about the middle of January, we're going to actually ask you to send us a list of all the training that you put in smoke. And if you remember last year, we joked about it on the phone calls, but it can be a Word document, it could be an Excel document, it can be on a napkin. What we're asking for from every county is we're looking to get something back that says this is what we intend to spend our money on. This is that we went through the process of putting it in smoke. You'd be surprised how many folks, the fact that we got the form actually saved or took some of the confusion out of the funding. And when I say saved, we thought we had a whole lot more money that was coming back for the Bureau of Fire Services as not being used. And what we found out is that some counties only partially funded a lot of their training within their in their county. They entered the training in smoke, but they didn't fund it. And this gave us a checks and balance to go back through. We only got 45 out of the 83 counties to participate. And that is something that as we move forward this year, we want to make sure that everybody has the ability to encumber their money, meet their training needs within their county. But further, we're asking that or requiring that form has to come back to us so that we can do the checks and balances and make sure money is put in the right place.
I had a question.
We've had some classes that were in smoke. Counties thought they were funded. They didn't send in the letter, and now they're coming back and they're saying, hey, we meant to fund that. Well, on December 31st, the money has to be funded. What we did is that money actually got pulled back in and got put back into a fund. And at the next training council meeting on June 30th, the balance of the money that is either that is the give back money is actually going to be distributed through a grant process, which is open until the 25th. So that's been put out on Gov Delivery. That's been shared with the CTCs also. And regional grants will have a priority with the council when they meet on June 12th. Sean, you got a question?
Yeah, the question said, they asked if it would be appropriate to include all counties included in one report that are working through a regional training center. For example, Charlevoix, Emmett, and Sheboygan. Would it be appropriate just to include all those counties in one report since they are using a regional training center? That's the question.
Yeah, they could do that. The main thing that we're asking for, and we're asking for the survey, is I've heard from, and it didn't matter whether it was in the UP, whether it was in northern Michigan, I was even as far down in Berrien County in southwest Michigan, is as I've met people along the ways, and people come from different counties, and so this isn't a dig on Berrien County. It came up at a town hall meeting, and there were a lot of people that were from other places, and they said nobody's ever asked us what we want. So if that whole regional collaboration is there, Sean, that's fantastic. But what we're looking for is you still got to encumber your money by the 31st of December each year. Otherwise, it's unencumbered funds and it comes back to the council for redisbursement. So.
Okay. I was going to do another poll real quick and see about how many people are participating in your calls. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's the next poll for everybody. Have you ever participated in the CTC conference call with the state fire marshal? We're getting those in there.
Don, just to let you know, some of those actually I had people who were county training chair people. We had perfect attendance. So we had some folks that literally participated in every one of those calls. So
terrific.
Kudos for that also.
In the room, it's 36% yes and 64% no.
Good. And that's the idea of doing the call and getting the information out, is we want people to know, to be informed. That's what we're really trying to do here. So hopefully this will go a little far and wide. So
I had another question. It said, do we have to use the forms? Just completed the county fire department survey.
Yeah, if you sent out a form and you've already done your survey, but you have to use the form when you send it back to us.
Okay, you just want that kind of, that way it's all
The
standardized.
reason we created the forms for each county is we thought, well, if we're going to come out with a procedure, we ought to provide a form for them to send out to the fire departments, hopefully to make it a little easier. And then that comes back to the county training chairperson. I know there's counties that came to me 2-3 months ago. I've met at town hall meetings even that said, so we can start planning now. And I would encourage, you can start planning anytime during the year. So, once you get your money and you get your money encumbered, if you get to, let's say, January of next year and you want to start planning for the next fiscal year, go for it. That is, like I said, been one of the things that a lot of people have said, that they don't feel they've been included in the planning process. So that's what we're trying to encourage. But by August 1st, from every county training chairperson, we are looking to get back the form. And on the county training one, which is this form here, it'll look kind of similar. We want to make sure that that is the form that comes back to the Bureau of Fire Services. We expect that form to be used so that we can have a certain amount of format in all 83 counties when we get it back.
Okay, terrific. I'm going to turn, William's got a couple quick answers. I'm going to turn him on. William, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Bill from Eaton County.
Hey, Bill.
So, like, we just got done doing a survey for everybody. You just want us to fill out this form and send that in?
Yeah, you just take what you gain from the county and then put it on the county form and send it in. Okay.
Okay.
We want it to come in on the form because it's used as a tool for forecasting also. And that's one of the things that I'll say that we're going to look at it and the council's going to look at it. There's been a lot of places where we've had academies and stuff going on and training where we've had not a whole lot of students. And then we find out after the fact, if we probably would have moved that training 10 miles one way, we could have drawn out of 3 counties, as opposed to it got put over way far over on one side of the county, and then it didn't draw. So we're trying to coordinate as we use these resources that we need to make sure that there's people in these seats. We need to make sure that these classes are as full as possible, and it doesn't make sense to run a whole bunch of classes with a handful of people in them when we could have gotten maybe folks to come and take one big class.
Right. Now with the last meeting I was able to go to was at Delta with you, and
Yep.
I don't remember who it was from the council that said firefighter 1 and 2 was going to have to be separated. You know anything about that?
What do you mean separated?
Well, they had mentioned that NFPA said that firefighter 2 couldn't be taken until they received their firefighter 1.
Yeah, we did a little checking into that. When you're going through the testing process and it's given together, what they're saying is you can't take firefighter 2 and then go take firefighter 1.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't need to split.
Yeah, that was the clarification from NFPA. I reached out to them, to the 1001 committee, and they shared that what they don't want is somebody to go take firefighter 2 and then a year later go back and take firefighter 1. They have to be taken in order. If you're in a 1 and 2 class and you're testing out, you're being tested on both topics, and that is the way that it should be done.
That's awesome. All right, thank you.
Okay. Yep. Realize that with firefighter 1 and firefighter 1 and 2, there's also going to be the 50 hazmat questions. So, that's where a lot of times people will say, well, we'll do firefighter 1. Well, we're going to do firefighter 1 and the hazmat. If you do 1 and 2 together, the idea is that if somebody after the fact comes back and takes a 2 class, and we see some of those ran, is they should already have their firefighter 1 and they should already have their hazmat done. So then it's a standalone class or a challenge.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I had a question about police departments. It says, whom will police departments, if they are NINFRS compliant and you're using funds, do they go the BFS or the CTC?
Phrase that again, Sean.
Yeah, I'm kind of unsure of the question. I was going to say, let me see if I'll turn his mic on and see if he wants it on. Jesse, do you mind kind of clarifying that a little bit?
Sure. My question is I started kind of looking at the NINFRS reports, Kevin.
Yep.
And online, but is it really the CTC? Is it my job to make sure they're compliant before they come to a class that's funded? Or would it be
It will be when, so that gets into a whole another topic, but let's go there. I like it. One of the things we're talking about is when we actually go out to deliver classes. In the rewrite of Public Act 291, it says that fireworks funds can only be used to train firefighters. Okay, so that in itself, that's the first caveat. The second caveat that's in there that we need to pay attention to is it says fireworks funds can only be used to train firefighters who their departments are MFERS compliant. And that's going to take us a little bit of work here as we move forward, but I'll give you an example of that. This money that we're going to give out on June 12th that the training council is going to give out, on the application, you have to have done your MFERS between January 1 of 2017 and December 31st of 2017, and all 12 months in order to be able to receive those funds. And that was in a motion that was made by the training council. And their take on that was, hey, we're just getting you all ready for what is going to be the expectation that if you're going to receive training funds at the county level or participate in any class statewide, that you will have your, you will be MFERS compliant.
Absolutely. I guess I'm thinking is, if I'm working through the RTC of 3 different counties, that would be pretty handful of a job to make sure that everyone from the departments are compliant.
Yes, it is. And that's one of the things when it comes down to a class too. Can there be police officers? Can there be private EMS? Can there be somebody from the local emergency management? Can they be in these classes? Yes, they can. However, if they're in these classes and they're funded with fireworks money, they have to pay a fee to be there. And there was a memo that was put out about a month ago that explains that process. And I was directed by the council to put that out.
Okay. Would that fee be, I don't mean to dominate the time, but would that fee be, say, example, mathematically had 30 people in the class and what the class cost divided by 30, would that be their share, a fair share?
Yep. That's exactly the way the memo is authored.
Okay. Thank you.
And actually, it's based off of, I think 15 is the minimum threshold, so that every class, they use that number. But as the numbers go up beyond that, you're dividing through that. And we'll also say this, that when it comes time to participate in a fire academy, if you were to say, hey, we want 24 people in our county academy, because that's done it, and that's a good number. So that's the number you set smoke, right?
Right.
And you have two people from a fire department that hasn't done their MFERS, then those people can be in the fire academy because they're from an organized fire department. However, they have to then pay a fee because they aren't doing their MFERS. So then you would have to take, let's say 24 students divided into whatever the cost of that class is, and then turn around, and that's the fee that they would pay. And I give an example of that in the memo, knowing that that will come up, I guarantee it.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I had some questions on some of the handouts too. The handouts, you should be able to get to the handouts on your control panel on the right. If you go to the bottom, there's a screen called handouts. You should be able to open that up and then download those. Those should download right to, you should be able to download those right to your computer. So hopefully everybody's able to do that.
Yeah, and Sean, just to give everybody a heads up, so the county training chairperson, after we're done with this webinar, we're actually going to send out an email from our office that will have the procedure. It will have the county, or will have the department survey form, and then it'll have the county survey form that should come back. So if you can get it off of here, that's fantastic. But realize in the future when people are viewing this, it won't be live, so they won't be able to get to it. And we also will put it out on Gov Delivery on Wednesday. Well, today's Wednesday, so I'm not so sure we'll get it out still today. But we'll get that out sooner than later. And one of the things, if you haven't noticed on Gov Delivery, we were sending out stuff every day, and a lot of you shared at different meetings and functions. Ping, or you've got email. So what we're doing is we're sending out training announcements on Wednesdays, and the idea is that they come out, they end up in the list. So if you've got anything you want to get posted, keep that in mind. Get them turned in, because we do save them till Wednesdays. We put them out on Wednesdays at one time. You will still get stuff from the Bureau of Fire Services on other days of the week, but training announcements Wednesday is the day. And
Right,
Sean,
yeah.
this might be a good time to share as we move forward into FY19, which will take effect on October 1st.
I got
So
a
if you're,
hand up. I had a hand up though, real quick, if you don't mind. Take a
okay,
question.
yep,
All right.
sure.
Go ahead, Randy. Randy? Are you there, Randy?
Randy, are you there?
He keeps putting his hand up, but he's not. Just type me a question, Randy, if you can, because you're not either your mic's not working or
Okay.
something's going on. So I'll go with it that way. I'll let you continue.
All right. So going back to October 1st of this year, or any funding that will be using FY19 dollars, you will be required to turn in a poster so that those can be shared on Gov Delivery. And the reason that we're requiring that, as I've moved around the state, I've also found out that folks were like, hey, I would have went over to the next county fire academy because it worked better for my work schedule, but I didn't even know the class was starting, the start date, or I didn't know that it was on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and my county does it on Monday and Wednesdays. So one of the things that we're looking at, a county has the ability to set the number of students. If, let's say, Charlevoix, I'll use that since Jesse was on here, Charlevoix County sets it at 24 students, and they fill up all 24 seats with Charlevoix County residents, and that class is full and it's closed. However, if only 20 people sign up, and there's people from other counties that want to get in, that class needs to take those 4 students if they want to get in, and we need to run these classes as full as we can. And also we need to be flexible because I've got legislators, I've got fire chiefs, I've got township officials, village officials that are calling me and sharing that, they're trying to recruit firefighters, but their county doesn't do it on the right night of the week or different things. And they've even shared they're willing to travel. So one of the things that we're looking at, this $2 million that's distributed statewide for fire training is to train firefighters statewide. And while counties have the first crack at filling them up with their people, if these classes are not full, I want to make it very clear that these classes are open to any firefighter in the state. And if they're a firefighter that's in a department that is NIMS compliant, these folks can get into these classes for free. And I said NIMS, I meant MFers. So all the acronyms that are rolling around up there. So
I had a couple questions for you when you get a second.
Sure.
I've got where does the fee charged for non-compliant fire departments go when attending a training?
So what the fee does is the county actually is going to keep the fee. So let's say there was a class and it was $100, just for simple math, and somebody wrote you a check for $100. Then when you put in your $250 for, let's say, a class that costs $600, you would only put in for $500, and then that $100 would go towards that. So we don't want money coming back here to the state, but if money is collected at the door, it should come off of the top of what will be the $250 amount that's entered in smoke that we actually then send the check back to the county from.
Okay.
I'm sure that will spur a few questions. So if those pop up, let's talk about that right now.
So
But
someone asked if they're new CTC. Sorry, you're lagging. I'm sorry. There's a CTC question, and I just said that they're asking they're a brand new CTC, and how do they get listed in smoke, and then get on the email list for the CTC. And I told them to email Holly, and then either TJ or Dan. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, actually, probably best they should reach out to whoever their region coordinator is.
Okay.
So if the lower half of the state, M46 is kind of a good line. If you're below M46, you're TJ Richardson's area. If you're above that, including the UP, you're in Dan Hammerberg's area. And you should reach out to them because what they'll do is they'll make sure that we get you in smoke, but there also is a list of how they maintain, and we want to make sure that you make it onto both lists. So, and then, and being that they are the region coordinators, we want to make sure that they're familiar with who are the CTCs and their counties that they cover.
I had a question from Jed, and I kind of dealt with this yesterday, putting in our own form. Is if you're doing a regional grant for the redistribution of the firework money, there's really no place on the main form to list all the departments. It just asked for the main one, and then I just listed all the departments that were in our region for the grant in the actual written part of the grant. Is that correct?
Yeah, the top part is that whoever's going to be the contact, we aren't going to, it's one person or one department has to step up and be the primary. And then the idea is that in your explanation down below, list who are the other, who are the 5 participating departments. It has to be a minimum of 5. It can be more. And if you're going to go more, what we're just saying is we're going to check those 5 departments. They have to be MFERS compliant. So if you've got more, and we understand that people are going to attend this training as we move forward in the future, but the council thought it was important to pick something that if somebody sends it in and one of the departments is not MFERS compliant within that time period for 12 months, that grant will be rejected.
I had a question from a CTC. How do you tell if a department's MFERS compliant?
If you go onto the Bureau of Fire Services website and you go to the MFERS tab and you go on there, the 2017 is listed. It's a PDF document. It's 200 and some pages long. You actually open it up. You go to your county, departments, and you can see whether or not they reported for every month in 2017.
All right.
And that document will also be the document that we will make the decisions off of whether the grant submittal is valid. So we're using the same document that's on there that you can use to check.
Okay.
So let's ask this question. So what if a department missed 2 months? Then they missed 2 months and they weren't compliant for 12 months. Well, what if they missed half the months and now they want to go back and fix it? That document was printed at the beginning of the calendar year for 2018. It's set. What it is what it is, and that's what the council said that they wanted to do moving forward.
How often is that document updated? That's another question.
The 2018 document that's on there is actually updated monthly.
Monthly. Okay.
So if you want to see where you're at for 2018, or you wanted to start to see, and this is, we're using this as a criteria for this grant, but we're going to work with folks as we work through the balance of FY18 and even as we work into FY19, because we've got to get the rules all set up and everything that go with the Public Act. But as a whole, there's going to be a day that we're going to draw a line in the sand and we're going to say either you're in or you're out. And in means you're doing your MFERS and then you're entitled to the money. If you aren't doing your MFERS, then you're not entitled to the money. And our hope is that everybody would see the value in doing those fire reports, which we need, which are required by law. It is in Public Act 207. Fire departments are required to fill out MFERS forms. So the whole idea of the tying it to training dollars now is that if you choose not to, you aren't entitled to the money. So
if one department, let's say you have 5 departments that are on this regional grant and one of them is not compliant, but the other 4 are, is that going to make the whole grant?
No. It's out. Don't. The easiest way to share this is do not send us an application with a department that's not compliant, because I can tell you what's going to happen. We're going to look at the list after the 25th and we're going to throw that app right out because there's a department that's on there that's not compliant. So if you turn one in right now and you have a department on there, then turn in another one. But when we go to move them forward, it's going to be, are all 5 of those departments MFERS compliant? If the answer is yes, they're going to move into one pile. If the answer is no, then they're going to move into another pile. They're not even going to be considered for these grants.
So I believe one of them might have put in a grant for a county, sounds like, and maybe there's 14 that are compliant and 1 that isn't, because I mean it'd be so easy to just drop the one off.
Well, then I would say this: then don't put in with that they're part of it. Okay.
Just put in the 14.
Right. Yep.
Okay. We had there's a question.
Here's the other thing on it, Sean. While we're talking about this, you can only be on one regional grant, also.
Right.
So, and that was clearly spelled out in the memo that went out. But you can't say, hey, I'm going to get together with 4 departments and put in a regional, and I'm going to get together with 4 more on the other side of the counter and put in a regional. You can only be on one regional grant, and you can only be on one department grant. We are taking the department grants. We are asking people to put them in because if we don't get that many regional grants, but the idea here is that most likely the money will be expended to regional grants. We're also going to expend more grants or approve more grants at the June meeting than we have money, so that if money's turned in as we go through the rest of the year, we can reach out to the next department and say, we got your money, now you're ready to go. With the idea that we're trying to use all $2 million.
Terrific. And then staying on this
Okay.
same line, I had a question. I might have to turn on his mic for a second, but he asked, whom should a department contact if reporting and reports are not getting to the state? So I don't know if they're asking.
They need to reach out to Rhonda Howard. But I'll also say this: whoever's submitting the fire reports, they will get an email back and it says a message, or it says data sent. You got to scroll down on the sheet of the paper, and there has to show data in there that shows that it uploaded. So if for whatever reason there was a glitch on the server or whatever, and it went up and into the sky, so to speak, and it didn't land at the MFirst site, it's going to show that there's been 0 data transferred, and that's farther down on the page. Okay. And a lot of people say, well, I got that email, we'll get that call. They'll says, well, I got it. I said, okay, now go down to the bottom of the page where it says data sent. It says 0. Well, then it didn't take your information. And one of the ways that you can check on this too, to make sure that your stuff uploaded, remember I said every month, the following month, Rhonda prints off to show who's done it. So there is a way within 30 days, if your stuff didn't go up, let's say for the month of, March of this year, you could go back now and you can fix that. Okay. So there is a way to go in and check on your department to make sure that your stuff is getting there.
Terrific.
I don't know if this is probably a good time to share this. The fire reports do not come to the Bureau of Fire Services. The fire reports go to a server on the East Coast where all fire reports for the whole country go. What happens is when we upload our information as Michigan, it actually gets put into a bucket that says Michigan. Rhonda then goes in there and claims those reports. Last year, the Michigan Fire Service generated over 660,000 fire reports. So there's a lot of stuff going up and it's landing in there. We claim it coming back the other way. Reason that we run that report every month is that if somebody had a miss, so I'll use my own department, Grand Rapids. I was going back looking through, and it was last fall, there was a month that was a miss, but all the other months were there. We reached out to them and I said something had to happen, that for whatever reason it didn't upload that month. They went back, they fixed it, and it's uploaded, and then it shows on the next month when the reports run, it shows that it's there.
And then how are departments designated as non-compliant on the FY's PDF on the Bureau of Fire Services page?
Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to work through as we go. You mean as far as for 17?
Yeah, the question just was, how are departments designated as non-compliant on the FY's PDF on the BFS page? As
in if there's zeros in there. Because okay, even if you had 0 runs, there's a spot on that form to put 0.
Okay.
This is the thing with FY. You've got to report every month, even if you have zeros. When there's zeros all the way down through, you didn't do anything. So one of the things I've seen some of them where they did mutual aid twice within the month, but they didn't have any calls of their own. It'll show 2 down in mutual aid and it'll show 0 for their own runs. So
okay.
If it's showing 0 zeros all the way through, they didn't report anything.
I had a quick question on staff, number of people in a class. So this had to do with student minimum numbers. Is there any special considerations for islands or places that have not very many people? Yep. For example, there's 4 or 5 personnel for a company officer in one of those places.
Yeah, they need to reach out to the region coordinators. This is something we've been doing all along. We talked about it on the conference calls we did last year. We continue to talk about it at council. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't have big numbers in a class, or you have a question over whether you can or can't run the class, reach out to your region coordinator. We have taken into consideration in some places, remote areas in the state, there isn't that many firefighters to pull from. And we have allowed them to do it. But I do want to stress this. I want to make this very clear This is not a decision that's solely made by the county training chairperson, whether they run it or not. This is working with the county training chairperson or the instructor or the course manager, working with the region coordinator. That's how the decision is made. So it's not something that I'm going to sit here on a video today and tell you, well, because you're on an island and you only have five people, that I'm approving it. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're on an island, you only have 5 people. You need to work back through your region coordinator and then work through that process. And we talk about this when we have our monthly, or we have a weekly meeting with the training division, and we talk about things like this. So we're looking at it, we're monitoring it. I'll say this though, in some counties, you know, we're having really small numbers, and the next door county's having the same thing, and the next door county's having the same thing. You know, I would ask you this: why are we running these classes when we could turn around and say, you know, maybe this isn't the year? And that's part of a survey. That's why we want you to do it. Maybe you take a year off and you don't run fire officer classes because there isn't enough people to fill a class. Or maybe we say, hey, we're going to run a fire class, but we're going to pick a central location between 3-4 counties, and we're going to run maybe a class in the fall, and we're going to run a class in the spring and draw into those classes. Because one of the things that the auditors are looking at, they're looking at some things like, hey, you paid a lot of money for this class, yet there were very few people in that class. So that is part of doing the survey. Some of you are asking, well, why is the Bureau of Fire Services requiring these surveys? Because we want to look a little closer at what are the needs for classes and what are the needs for the training. That's why on that last page, if there's a lot of other stuff that you think you need, list it. We're trying to get an idea of courses. We're also looking and saying, hey, there's some courses on here that nobody is requesting, and the curriculum's very old. The council could make a decision that, hey, maybe we're going to take that course out. Or, you know, we even get it from time to time from folks, even the NFA, they're not going to renew some of the classes. They're actually saying that class is sunsetted. That class is, it's old. They're not going to support the curriculum, and that class is eventually going to go away. And we need to be able to do that here in Michigan. That's what we're really trying to do here.
Excellent. I had a couple other questions here.
Yeah.
They're clear on the grants, but like, for example, let's say you're getting fireworks money for a fire academy, and
Yep.
Some of the entities are not able to get, because they're not MFERS compliant, they're not able to get any funding. Should they pay their fair share?
Yes.
Out of their own budgets?
Not only should they pay their fair share, the council has made it very clear. The Public Act makes it very clear. If your department is not doing MFERS, and that's one of the things that, you know, somebody will say, well, we don't have any money in our community. Well, I can get you money in your community. But to get that money in your community, you need to fill out your MFERS form. And I don't think we're asking too much to ask somebody who, you know, I had a conversation with somebody that was saying they didn't have time to do MFERS forms. And I said, okay. I said, well, how many runs did you have last year? And they go, 10. I said, 10? 10 for the whole year? Yeah, 10 for the whole year. And we don't have time to do that. Well, we got fire officers in departments across the state are doing 10 fire reports every day. So, you know, one of the things that we want to look at, and we've got small places that are paid on call fire departments that are doing 4 or 5 runs every day. They're doing more than 10 a week, and they're reporting. So we've got to look at that, and that's where council has said, and it was the intent of the work groups that worked on Public Act 291. They made that very clear to me, was we believe that everybody should be doing their MFERS. Not only should be doing their MFERS, we're going to tie it to funding. So I hope that answers that question, Sean, of what happens to the place. I'm sharing with everybody out here, and that's the idea of doing this webinar and putting this video out there and making it accessible. If you're in Michigan, it is May of 2018. There is a day coming in the very near future, probably in FY19, where you're going to have to be doing your MFERS to be entitled to get the money. So if you've been wanting to start, or you're thinking, why should we start? Now's the time to start, because it's going to have an effect on budgets. And we understand that.
I got another really good question, something I've actually come up against. Now that these classes are free, there's really no skin in the game. So is there anything that works to handle the amount of people who are signing up for these classes and then just don't show up for the class?
That is something that we're definitely going to look at. That's something that council is going to look at. You know what? I've had some people share with me, Sean, is that they actually have said they're actually charging a fee to sign up. And what they're saying is, hey, it's $10 and it's include lunch. And one of the things that people have been sharing with me, you'd be surprised how much their attendance improved when somebody had to pay some money up front. Okay.
Yep.
Because then they came to class. It was like they weren't going to lose $10, so they came to class. But I agree. You know, we had Mark Van Opten, fully involved guy out of the West Coast, great leadership class. We had him in Wyoming, Michigan, near Grand Rapids on a Saturday in March, and we had him in Bay City. And looking at both those rosters, I was kind of shocked by how many people no-showed. They went into smoke, they signed up, and then they no-showed. So one of the things also that I would encourage the course managers to do, don't unenroll them, because that's 2 steps in smoke. Mark fail. That's 1 step. And then validate your roster and send it in. And then when somebody goes back and looks at somebody's training transcripts, they can explain, I guess, to their chief why they've got certificates in there or classes that say fail. Because one of the things, to go back and unroster these people, it's taken a whole lot of time that the course manager's messing with these rosters in order to do it. If somebody signs up for a class, why can't they go in and unsign on that Saturday? If you know you can't be in Wyoming, go in and take yourself off the roster. You can unenroll yourself. So definitely some things that that we're looking at. But you're right, it's a problem statewide.
I'm not sure how much more stuff you have to cover, but we've got some more questions.
I'm pretty good, Sean. I think we hit a lot of the questions. You know, the whole idea was archiving this. The main thing that today is in review, there is a procedure that's going out. It talks about surveying your county fire departments or public safety departments to make sure that you have the information to gather what are the training needs. We're providing a form for each fire department. It's part of the packet. Send this form over to each department. You need to get them back. And that's one of the things we're looking for the county training chairperson too, is to get these back. And then we're looking for the county chairperson by, what's the date? You got a question for a poll on that, Sean?
Yeah, we got polls on all
what
these.
Is the date that this form has to be back to the Bureau of Fire Services?
Let's get that one. Let's get that right here. The
outside
county.
of that, I think there's been some good dialogue today, and that's really what we were trying to do. And I think we've been successful.
So the CTC must submit the county training committee training needs survey to the Bureau by June 1st, October 1st, September 1st, or December 31st.
Do you have August 1st on there?
It is August 1st, isn't it?
Yeah, it's August 1st, yeah. Did I just give it away?
Yeah, that one. It's hold on a second. Let me close this a second.
Yeah, I think you had
I think I confused the two of them because I put all of them in there.
It's by June 1st moving forward. We want them to actually, get the surveys out, right? And then they have by August 1st, gives them time to compile it and get it back.
Right, and that's what needs to be back to you by
August 1st.
August 1st. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then that gives us a chance to take a look at things, and that's going to give us an opportunity to maybe we reach out and we talk to a few places and say, hey, there's 2 or 3 of you that want to do this one class. How do we collaborate between counties while everybody's got their money and set some of these things up? A lot of these big name speakers that are coming in on IQ classes, they shared with me, they can't be making 6 trips to Michigan, but if they could come and let's say do a couple in the fall and do a couple in the winter, they'd be a whole lot better off. So,
a couple last questions before we close this up. Can you please clarify the charging for classes by using fireworks training funds? They're under the impression it was not allowed other than books, etc. How about other class fees?
So let's say you have a fee. Let's say you're going to have a boxed lunch delivered every day, and it's going to cost $10, and it's a 5-day class. Making this up as we go, and you're going to charge $50. You can do that. The thing is, you have to if there's going to be a fee, it has to be the same fee for every student. Okay.
Got it.
Now we're not talking about somebody that didn't do their MFERS and that's why they're paying. We're talking about if you're going to have a fee. So I had Tim James and I had a conversation about this, And he says, what if for the fire academy, the 13,000 some odd change for a firefighter 1 and 2 class isn't enough because we want to buy some webbing, so everybody has 10 foot of webbing. We want to buy everybody, 20 foot of half-inch static chromatic rope, and we want to buy everybody 3 t-shirts, or we're going to have 3 t-shirts so they can wear them to class. And it comes to $42 per student. You can charge that fee as long as you charge every student in that class that fee. Okay. So what we don't want is somebody to say, well, because this department's the host department, the majority are here. No, we're going to take that out of the money and we're only going to charge the outsiders. If you charge a fee, you have to charge a fee to everybody in the class.
Perfect. And then the last one I have, has there been any discussions about doing these type of telecom or webcam type or webinar type classes so that people can attend a class being held in other parts of the state? And I'm assuming they're talking more of like the formal classes, not something like this.
We are kind of looking at some of that stuff. One of the things that comes up though is hey, I logged in and I let my computer play all day long. So there has to be a way to measure it. And that's one of the things, if you look at EMS Continuing Ed, right? It runs for 10, 15 minutes, then you got to answer a couple of questions. And then it runs for 10 more minutes, you got to answer a couple of questions. Are we looking at down the road on ways that we can do that? Absolutely. But one of the things is I get it, the technology's there. It's clearly we're able to do it. Can we do it every place that we go? And this is something I've heard from some folks too, is that they like going to class and having that instructor in front of them. And one of the things that we saw, and this is maybe a good place to have this discussion, we ran a pilot program in the UP, successful, for sure successful. However, one of the things that we noticed was the people who were at the site where the instructor was, where they were beaming it out from, everybody passed there, but the places where they beamed it to had some failure rates. Now, the question was, is there value then of, because when it's on the video screen, maybe how many times have you been at a class, they take a break and I don't know, 3 people are talking outside the fire station and you walk back in and ask the instructor a question, or can you clarify that? And that was one of the things that was shared with us, was that maybe because the instructor's not there, that you can't stay after class for 10 minutes to clarify something, or even on the breaks to clarify something. So it's having the instructor there is 2-way communication, where just having it done through video and then it ends, it's that process is pretty much done. So we'll have to explore that. I'm open to those ideas. I think that, we have to get creative on how do we get people trained statewide that are some remote locations, and yet make sure that we're setting them up for success so that they have the skills to go out there and get the job done, but do it in a safe way.
Yeah, one last poll I'm going to launch here. So funded courses for FY19 must be completed between. So funded courses for fiscal year 2019 must be completed between. Everybody's clicking in. We're almost there. If you got a chance, go ahead and click on your screen there. Almost at, as soon as we get to 80%, perfect. All right. Share results. So 84% of you got it right. October 1st, 2018 to September 30th, 2019.
Right.
A couple outliers there. No one picked the fiscal year, July, so that's good.
Hey, Holly, hey, Sean.
Yeah.
Holly, who keeps me on the straight and narrow on most days and helps me to make sure that we have clarity. And she shared with me that on the compiling training needs, it's actually due by September 1st.
September 1st, okay. So we were right. It was on there.
You have so the part that I was mixing up, Sean,
here we go,
is that by June 1st, the county CTC sends out their thing. Each fire department has until August 1st. And then county training chairperson. So I misspoke myself earlier when I said August 1st. The departments have until August 1st to get back to the county chairperson. And then the county chairperson has till September 1st to submit it.
Okay, and I've got that up on the screen right now. So the September 1st, the 44% of you had, that's when it needs to be back to the Bureau. And
I know this is confusing with a lot of dates, and that's why we're putting a procedure out there we want to make sure that we're trying to put it out there so you have something to go back. And that's what we're trying to do here, even with the webinar. So thank you. And Sean, we've talked about the next one. So can we throw it out there so that people get the idea of what the next topic is?
Sure, throw it out.
The next webinar that we're going to do, and it might be a little while because the weather's going to get nice here and we want everybody to enjoy the sunshine and warmth. But the next webinar that we do will actually be geared towards instructors. And what are we looking for in an instructor to make sure they do? And what are some of the rules that instructors have to follow? And how do instructors have to do paperwork? And how do they submit stuff in smoke? And how do they have to follow up? And, you know, as a whole, I want to commend everybody as we keep rolling more and more stuff out through memos and such. You know, we asked, hey, you got to turn in a roster. And that is something that we have to do in order to be compliant for our auditors. The rosters are coming in. You're doing a fantastic job. The sooner you close out that 250, the faster the money comes to your county. And then I will say this, the counties are doing a good job. You guys are paying your bills a lot better than we were maybe a year ago, because I think people are getting into a rhythm. But from the time that 250 closes out to the time TJ or Dan verify that roster's there in the LARA box or you send it in, we're getting money out to the counties in less than 2 weeks on average.
That's awesome.
So what we're looking for is we get some calls from time to time from instructors, hey, how come I haven't been paid? The money's distributed to the counties distribute the funds. And this might not be a bad time to realize that, you know, we're distributing some counties a big chunk of change and some counties, you know, they're getting a minimum of 15 grand. You got to be able to account for the 15 grand we give you so that down the road somewhere, if somebody was to, you know, to question, hey, where did the money go and such, I've got to be accountable to the state of, we dispersed the 2 million. But at the county level, that's going to be on you guys and gals out there to make sure that that money gets distributed out from there. So please, if you have any questions on that, even reach back out to me. So this is the time.
Oops, I was going to get a couple hands up too.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have to be done.
Okay.
I think we're getting good stuff. We're archiving it, right?
Yep. Mike Evans, your mic's on.
Kevin, you got me?
Yeah, I do.
Would you support funds for live fire training for the departments that have to come over here and do live fire training? Grand Rapids is coming over next week, and Battle Creek comes over, and is this something we would just work with TJ on?
No, it's something you actually have to work with the county training chairperson on, Mike. So the county funds, the money all gets distributed to the counties. If a county decided they wanted to pay for that through the funds, just like even sending people to the Inspector Society, education workshops or the instructors conference, it would have to get approved as a Q course, and then counties have the ability to fund it if they would like. But it's done at,
okay, so Battle Creek, Traverse City, they should deal directly with their counties. And,
they have to, yeah. And somebody's going to have to put it in as a Q class to say, hey, you're going to go to Detroit Metro Airport to train, right? And so,
right. So would we put that in as a Q course, and then they can select that?
Actually, let's use Traverse City just for the sake of discussion. So Grand Traverse County has the CTC. They would work through them, and if they said, yeah, we're going to do that, we're gonna take these funds, then the best time would be submit it for a Q class, get it approved at the council, and then once that training site at Detroit Metro Airport is approved, then any county could send people there.
Right. Okay.
You just have to realize that when the money's dispersed, when the 2 million is dispersed, basically October 1st, it's all your money to spend. It doesn't matter what TJ, Dan, and I think money should be spent on. Our job is to make sure that it's spent correctly. Our job is to make sure the instructors teach the objectives. Our job is to make sure that the content is presented, the hours are met, the paperwork coming back, the rosters are collected, and that type of stuff. That's what our job is. But it's a county decision on how they spend their money.
All right, thanks, Mike. I've got one more. Here, let's see. Richard. Richard, you there? Richard?
Yes. Will the forms be sent out yet this afternoon?
Yeah, we can, we have the CTC list. We can attach those forms. Holly's over there nodding. Yes, we will send them out this afternoon.
Well, I just thought I'd pass those out tonight at your meeting.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Counties
I like
that are
it.
there. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Hey, Richard,
I'll
were
see
you able to?
I'll see you in Midland tonight. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Richard, were you able to download it off the webinar or not?
Oh, I'm not even seeing it.
Oh, okay. It should be down in the right corner. Should be able to open up the.
Little tab that says handouts if you open it up.
Nothing's there at all.
Okay.
Holly will send them out. That was our intent. Our intent was to send out the procedure and to send out the forms after we had the webinar. So we'll get them to you, Dick.
Let me see
Sounds
it.
good. Have a safe trip up.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. Let me see. We've got. I think that about does it. Oh, we got a couple questions.
Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
Couple
Especially the
questions.
grants, because those grants are coming up. That the day of having them in is close.
I think that's it. I think everybody's just saying thanks, and I think we're all set. There is an evaluation, everybody. If you can please do us a favor and fill that out. It does have a couple of you asked or had input in the questions section about things that you would like us to cover in a webinar. There's some very good ideas there. If you could just include those. There's actually a question in the evaluation about other things that you would like to see us do. So go ahead and put that in there. We appreciate the input and the feedback.
That's a great point, Sean. That you're right. There's a lot of topics out there, and we'll continue to do them as we see a need. But instructors are next, and we'll move on from there.
Terrific. All right. Well, thanks everybody, and thank you, Fire Marshal Selmeyer, for your time today. I think it was good, well worth everybody's time. Just by the amount of questions and interaction we had, it was fantastic.
Yep, and thanks for the opportunity. And this is also a time that I want to throw a big shout out to our staff, and they're doing a great job out there. I think the communications between the counties and the regional coordinators are at an all-time high. The training coordinators that are out doing the test, they've all been trained. We've been having conference calls with them. So we have some areas that we still want to improve for sure. And online testing is a reality. We won't roll it out really fully until FY19 starts, but we ran a firefighter 2 test a couple of weeks ago, and it worked great. We're going to do a firefighter 1 and 2 test on the lake shore in June, and we're pretty happy. You're also going to see some improvements in smoke, but we'll save that for the instructors. So just a little, give you a little reason why you may want to tune back in, and most CTCs are instructors. And thanks for the opportunity. Be safe out there. Have a great summer. And if you need anything, reach out to Bureau of Fire Services. We're here to help, and have a good summer.